Hey guys, been a while since I made a video for you guys, so I thought I would jump in here and say hello again. And I haven't really had any questions about this, but I've watched a couple of other people on YouTube, and a lot of them kind of give a little bit of their background and who they are as far as role-playing games are concerned, and why should you care what I've got to say, right? So I thought I would give you a little bit of back history on me. I'm an old dude. I probably rival the age of some of the guys you've seen on Nerdarchy. I actually don't look too bad for my age, at least I think so. You may think differently, and that's fine. Um, but what I wanted to tell you about was mostly where I started in RPGs. When I first came to high school, and this was back in the early 80s when I came to high school, and I was looking for somebody to teach me how to play Dungeons and Dragons. My parents weren't into this kind of stuff. I didn't really have any friends that were into this stuff, and really going to this new high school, most of the people that I knew from middle school, I was going to lose a lot of my friends because we just recently gone through a move. So I was looking to make new friends. I was looking to get into RPGs, and I knew what D&D was. I knew what it was about, and I really wanted to get into it. So I went looking, and when we were picking up our class schedule on the day that we showed up at high school, I met this kid. We're both in line, and we start talking, and I noticed that he has a D&D book in his hand under his arm. And I asked him about it. He goes, "Oh yeah, me and a couple of my friends play all the time. We love the game." And I was like, "Well, I don't suppose you'd be willing to let a noob into your group, would you? Because I'd really like to get in on this." Now that's not my words verbatim. I don't even remember what they were back in the early 80s. Like, it's tubular, man. It would be far out. Whatever. I even forget what the lingo was in the 80s. And I'm here in Texas, so I'm sure I'm completely blowing it out of proportion. Most of what I just said probably came from California. But anyway, he introduced me to a couple other guys, and those guys weren't really interested in teaching a new guy. But I kept hanging out with them and just kind of staying on the fringes until finally they let me in, and it helped me write up a character, and one thing led to another. And uh, I spent probably, I would say, anything from 50 to 75% of my day at high school was role playing games. I joined a group known as the Gamers Club then in the 80s. We actually started it. We were the originating members, founding members, so to speak. And we had an after school group of guys that got together, and we had this one DM, and I can't for the life of me remember his name, but he was not bad, and he ran games for us. I think it was every Wednesday after school. We would all stay late, like a detention type thing, except we were playing D&D. And we had a teacher who was role play game friendly. Even in the 80s, they were out there. And he let us stay and use his classroom. And we just line all the desks up in rows, and we'd all sit around and play D&D. And even back then, I was into the rogues and I started with fighters and got into that, but I really, my thing was rogues. And I still to this day, and back in that day, that was Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and they didn't call them rogues, they called them thieves. And I was a thief in just about every game we played. I loved playing that type of character, still do to this day. One of my favorite classes to play. But from there, we branched out. I met a couple other guys that were into role-playing games. We played with them for a while. One of them kind of said, "You know what? D&D's not doing it for me. I don't like the combat. I don't like the way the game flows. I need a different rule system." So we dumped that rule system and we started playing Marvel superheroes for a while. And we played Champions, hero games. I'm big into comic books and superheroes. And then I kind of played one-on-one with this other dude that was a friend of mine. And I'm not mentioning names on here because I don't know if they want that out there or not. So if you guys listen to this video and you don't care, let me know. And next time I'm online, if I come up with a story from you guys, I'll mention your names and give you credit for your cool stories. But anyway, we started playing another game that was not very long. It was a very short-lived game. I don't know what happened to it. gaming industry things back in that day. I didn't keep tabs on them, but there was a game called Star Frontiers, and me and this other, I used to hang out at his house every now and then, and we would just do one-on-one campaigns and play Star Frontiers at his house. And we pulled all kinds of interesting ideas just out of thin air and ran with it and just had a blast. We did stuff that not even in the rule set. We had a good time though. But superheroes were still my main thing. And then when I joined the military and took off, actually what happened was another one of my friends that I gamed with often, he joined the Army before me and became a military policeman. And I wasn't really the military kind of guy. Two of my other friends were more into the idea of joining the military than I was. But since this individual did join the military, I decided I was going to join as well. And so I did. It was mid-'80s. We had graduated high school. There was a conglomerate known as OPEC, which might still be around today for all I know, but they flooded the market with oil, and they drove the prices for every barrel of oil so low that jobs in the Texas market just dried up. Everything was just going away. And I was about to turn 21, and my mom told me at that time, well, both my parents actually told me at that time, that I would either be able to afford to live out on my own by the time I was 21, or I would be living on my own at the age of 21. And since I had just gotten fired from my job at Cactus Records and Tapes, which is gone now, but I used to hawk concert tapes, concert tickets, and rent movie videos and sell. At the time, the CDs were brand new. No, there were no CDs. We were actually selling cassette tapes and vinyl. That was still around back in that day. Now, if you're getting into vinyl, you're a collector. But back in that day, vinyl was everywhere. Everybody had a phonograph. Everybody, we knew what a 45 was. We, as far as the speeds on the turntables, we knew all that stuff because that's how we rolled. But so I joined the military and I followed my buddy to Korea. I got stationed in South Korea, and it was funny. Like 3 months after I got stationed in South Korea, I found out that he was stationed much further south than I was, and his tour ended, and he got shipped stateside and went to Fort Hood. So while I was there, I met some friends, and none of them really played D&D, at least when I was stationed in Korea, at least none that I knew of. They may have, and they were just hiding it or something, but we had other things that involved our time when we were in South Korea. And I ended up not really getting to do much playing at that time, so I kind of backed off for a year or so. And I was stationed in South Korea from 1987 to 1988. And then my grandfather passed away from a stroke, and I got notified by the Red Cross that it was happening. And my First Sergeant Klingsdale, I'll never forget that man, really good guy. He called me into his office and he said, your grandfather's passing away. He's not a part of your immediate family. So by the UCMJ, strict code of military justice, I don't have to ship you stateside for this because he's not a part of your immediate family. But I'm asking you, man to man, how close were you to your grandfather? And I told him the truth. I said, my grandfather was one of the men that got me my first shotgun. And him and my dad took me out to hunt on an annual basis. We went out to South Texas, and we would go dove hunting, and with my uncle Bob Bledsoe, my great uncle Bob Bledsoe. And he's one of the reasons why I joined the military. He was a doctor in the Army, and I really felt close to him. And First Sergeant said, no problem, it's all I needed to hear. And within 72 hours, he had me on a plane and flew me back to the stateside to Texas on an emergency PCS, which is different. What a PCS is, and I can't remember what the acronym stands for. It's a military acronym, but basically it's permanent change of station. I think that's what it is. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. And they shipped me to Fort Hood, Texas. And from there, I got a 30-day family leave so that I could go be with my family, bury my grandfather, say my goodbyes and everything. And Then I got back to Fort Hood, and that's where I started meeting role players again. We got another D&D crew together, and we ended up getting to play. It was very infrequently. We didn't play very often at all. I knew about 3 or 4 guys, a couple of artists, because I'm an artist as well. I'm a terrible artist, but I am an artist. I enjoy it as a hobby. Uh, we had to play, I don't know, once a month, if that, you know. And then from there, I got deployed to Panama, and we fought a war over in Panama, Operation Just Cause, in 1989. You guys can look that up in your history books or Wikipedia or whatever and see. I was over there, and you may not see my name in history, but you'll see that it did happen, and I was there. And while I was stationed in Panama, we were only over there for like a 4-month tour we were what was known as augmentation to the group that was over there, and the 504th, I think it was, Military Police Company or Battalion Company, I think they were attached to a different battalion. It was just the 504th Company. But anyway, my platoon was to augment them while they were working the road. So we came to Panama and we worked the road while they were in the field doing maneuvers and trainings and whatnot. And then when they came back, we were going to ship stateside again. But at the end of our 4-month stint is when they decided Noriega's been a bad boy and we're going to take him out of power. And so they told us to unpack our gear. And there's a funny story behind that too, but it doesn't deal with role playing, so I'm going to try to get back on topic here. And if you guys want to hear it, tell me in the comments. Maybe I'll do another video about that later. But while I was there for those 4 months, I got a small group together and we played D&D in the company area, and there was a what do you call them, where different posts have different like little it's not like a clubhouse, like a neighborhood clubhouse type thing, but it sort of is. But it lets you do entertainment things if you're in the military. So you show up there and, like, they had a couple of drum kits in there for people that were musicians. They had some guitars and some stuff like that, and keyboards I think were in there. And then they also have like a craft store area, and you can go in and buy crafts and sit down and do crafts and whatnot. But they also offered tables and things for people to come in, and you would basically just sign up on a chart, say I'm going to take the tables from this time to this time, and this is what we're going to be doing. And as long as it was something that was okay with them, nobody had a problem with it. So we would every now and then reserve space and time there, and we would go play D&D. And we didn't have dice with us, so what we did was we would take pieces of loose leaf paper, and we would tear 4 pieces of paper off that were about even sized, and we would write the numbers 1 through 4 through it, and then we'd ball them up and we'd stick them in a hat. And we'd do another one with 6 of them, and we did another one with 8, another one with 10, and another one with 12, and another one with 20, and those were our dice. And we would just kind of shake the bowl around and hold it up, and the guy would reach in and pull out a tab, open it up. I rolled a 4 and put it back in, and that's how we started out. And I think later we did end up getting our hands on some dice, but I don't remember when that was. But we used to hang out, and I DM'd almost all of the ones that were over there in Panama. I had one game that I got to play in as a character, and I had a monk that I was playing by the name of Siju, and he was kind of a cool character, and I kind of had a crush on a female lieutenant that was there, and she was playing a thief or a rogue in my game, and my monk, which I was playing as an NPC in the party, would be hitting on her while the party was doing everything else, and I kind of irritated her. So and I apologize for that if you ever watch this video. I didn't mean to irritate anybody, but I can look back on it now and think, wow, I was kind of a little asshole. But we played for most of the 4 months that we were there before the conflict kicked off, and then during the war, obviously nobody got together to play D&D. We just did what we had to do, did our jobs, fought the war, got it taken care of, and then came home. And when we got back stateside, the group kind of broke apart. We lost a couple of guys to ETS. We lost another couple of guys, moved duty stations to, got shipped overseas and whatnot. And so we didn't play much anymore after that. So it wasn't until I got out of the military in '91 that I got back into it. I started finding other people that liked playing. And some of my friends, we hooked back up and we would play infrequently. So it was like, I don't know, every other weekend if we could get it together. And sometimes, like, one of the guys that still today the same home group is playing, but it's very infrequently, and the GMs kind of bounce around who's going to GM, who's going to play and stuff. And we still play Hero Champions and Fantasy Champions and Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder. I play Pathfinder with my girlfriend and my kid that live with me, and we've got a little game going there that's based on the Pathfinder Society. I think it's called Pathfinder Society. We took some of their modules and we're playing them ourselves. None of us are actual members of the Pathfinder Society, but we still play that. And then from the Pathfinder, I got into D&D 5th edition, and that's kind of where I started finding these online videos and stuff with all the guys, Matt Click and Tim Kearney and Michael Barker and all the people that do these things online and YouTube and stuff. And so from there I started my channel, because not only did I respect what they were doing and feel like there's a lot of mosquitoes out here, welcome to Texas. Not only did I respect what they were doing and kind of get into it, but on top of that, I also I wanted to, I wanted to put my voice in there. And there's not, to my state of being, you can never stop improving when you're a gamer. There's always something new that you're going to learn, something that somebody else does differently that you didn't think of. And when you see that and you can incorporate little bits and pieces of that into you, we all grow, we expand, right? So that's part of why I'm on here, because hopefully you guys will learn little bits and pieces from what I do and expand your knowledge. And then in turn, as you offer me new things, I'll continue to expand my knowledge, and we'll all continue to grow. There's no such thing as the perfect gamer. There's always that next new thing that we haven't learned yet, that next new system that we haven't tried. I'd love to try Fate, never played it. More recently, I went to Gen Con for the first time, and I got to play in a Star Wars Edge of the Empire game. And some friends of Valerie from back in California that she knew, they were there as well, and they put together the game. And I had a ball. Man, it was fun. I love Star Wars too. I'm a big nerd. Comic books, Star Wars, Star Trek, you name it, I'm into it. But I had a good time with that one. And then coming back here, I joined in with another group. You guys might know Haminopi on YouTube. He's another guy whose videos I watch quite often and enjoy. He introduced me to a fella locally that played, I say locally, for me it wasn't. He's probably an hour drive from where I am, but this is Texas, so what do you expect? We're all an hour is like, yeah, okay. But I drove out there and I got to play Star Wars with his crew for a while, and started a brand new character and really enjoyed it. Had a great time. Can't wait to get to play that character again. But aside from that, I'm also running my own home game. As a matter of fact, this coming up weekend, which is going to be the 14th of November, I've got a home game that I'm going to be running online on Roll20.net. And I asked the guys if they cared if I recorded it, and I said if anybody doesn't want it recorded, it won't be. If any one person says no, then we're not going to record it, because I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable. I didn't want to make it a big deal. I just asked, and one guy said no, and his reasoning was because this is kind of my first time as a DM using the Roll20.net system. That I've played a lot on Roll20 with them, but I haven't really used it as a DM. So he said, just until you get your feet underneath you and get going, that way you don't make a fool of yourself on your YouTube channel. And I'm like, I'm gonna do that anyway. It's not hard for me to make a fool of myself. I'm kind of a foolish guy. So, but anyway, so that's kind of where I come from and my background in role-playing games. And I've mentioned several games, Champions Hero, Advanced D&D, Second Edition D&D. I skipped over everything from after Second Edition. One of my other friends that said, I'm done with D&D, I'm not playing that anymore. And he jumped into the Champions with me, and we played Champions Hero, Champions Fantasy, Champions Sci-Fi, and a couple other ways that you can. That's kind of a universal system. It's a little crunchy. There's a lot of rules and a lot of math involved in it. And it's one of those point buy systems where when you're making your character up, you kind of get an idea in your head and then you build off that idea to create your character. And but you can kind of design the character right up front that you wanted, and then as you get more points, as you can spend your experience to improve on your character. And so it's fun that way, and we get a kick out of it. We enjoy it. I still play that game all the time with them. Matter of fact, it's one of the other games that I play on Roll20 with him. And I've got a character that's a you guys, anybody that's seen me play on the Copper Jackals group, you guys might recognize Aster the Master Caster. And he was a lot of guys call him a snowflake character because it's one of those, oh, he's special. He's got to have something nobody else has. And that's not why I created him. I created him because he sounded like he was going to be fun. And but he's a satyr, player character satyr that DM Tim Kearney from Tabletop Terrors, he approved it for the Copper Jackals, and I got to play him in a minting session. It is the only time I've played him. And the other character that I also made that was a Copper Jackal was Raxok, who is a half-orc ranger, and I've played him in both a minting session for the Copper Jackals as well as a I forget what they called the next session. After the minting session, which is where you get your coin, you bring your coin to the Copper Jackals, and then they let you kind of become a full-fledged member. It's like I don't know, you go from being a probie to a low level. But I got to play in one of those with his brother James Kearney. DM'd it for us, and then it was known as Suffocation. So if you look up the Copper Jackal Suffocation on YouTube, and James Kearney is running it, then you'll get to see Raxok in his first real game, which was a lot of fun too. And they did a great job with that game. We didn't know what was going to happen. It was interesting when we started it, because where he starts it is you kind of, wow, it's a shock starter, which I liked. But they played theirs on Google Hangouts, and of course there's the One Shot group, which is where I connected to the Copper Jackals. And I've been interested in a couple of one shots, but right now my schedule is a little wonky compared to everybody else's, because like everybody else can stay up late in the evenings and play, and I got to be up really early in the morning to get to my job. So I get off at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which is great, but having to get up as early as I do to get to work, I'm kind of out for a lot of the times that everybody else is getting together to play on the One Shot group. So I haven't been able to play or run anything with them, but I'm about to. I've got an idea that I'm going to run as a one shot on a weekend for some guys. And I'd like to see, I've got currently, let's see if I can remember this correctly. Currently, I believe, according to my YouTube channel, I have 16 followers. That's not a big number. So I want to offer you guys something for being followers of me. I'd like to offer you the opportunity, if you are interested, you do not have to do this. I'd like to offer you the opportunity to play in a game with me. So if you would like to play D&D 5th edition game with me, mention in the comments under this video on YouTube. I'm going to post this on my website as well, but go to the YouTube part of it and mention in the comments that you're interested in playing. And I'm going to set up a one-shot game that's going to be done on like a Saturday or a Sunday. and it'll be just like a 2 or 3 hour long game, just a little one-shot campaign where I will run a game for you guys, and I'll do like 2 or 3 of them because I don't want to run more than about 4 or 5 players at a time. And with 16 of you guys, if all 16, which I'm not expecting, but if all 16 say I'm going to play, I'm going to break you up into 4 different groups, and that way I've got 4 players per group, and we'll run these one shots on YouTube, and it's going to be kind of a fun play. But then the last thing I want to go over is what's coming up on the channel, because I am starting to do some more work on this. I know I've said this before, but I've got something called Trello now, and it lets you kind of organize your thoughts and get things going for what's coming up. So I've gotten on Trello, and I've done a couple of different ideas, and I have a long list of videos that I can put together for you guys that I really want to jump into, and I've got one of them I'm working on, and I've got a bunch of others that are in a list of coming up. So I'm RPG how-to, and this is just going to be a how-to video about RPGs in general. I'm not going to talk about a specific RPG, but I just want to talk to newbies that aren't really into the market and give them an idea or a stepping off point as to what they can expect. And then I have an idea that this one's not in my list yet. I want to find out what the interest on this is too. So if you like this idea, let me know. I want to do an improv hangout, and what I mean by that is when I was in high school, I took drama classes, and one of my favorite things in drama class was to do improv on stage, and that's where you get up on the stage, and the people in the audience, somebody will give you a setting, somebody will give you a problem, and somebody else will tell you what character you are, and then you've got to play it. And I think that would be really cool for RPGers to kind of get a feel for improving on the spur of the moment, because that's kind of what RPG is to a small extent. We're coming up on the 30-minute mark, so I'm going to give you what these last 2 are. I want to do one on Champions Hero, on how to play Champions Hero from the ground up, build a character, run a session, and why I enjoy it. You know, it is crunchy, like I said before, and I'm not gonna make any bones about it. It's not for everybody, but I enjoy it, and you guys might too. And then PC building and RPG thoughts, and what this is going to be about is video based on building your character and making it interesting for you. Because if I'm your DM, my responsibility is to put an interesting story together, and to make sure that there are hooks and things for you to do in this game that would be fun, okay? My job is not to make you have fun at the table. That's your job. And the way you do that is by creating an interesting and involved character that you're going to enjoy playing. And so we're going to talk about exactly what that entails, and how you can possibly do that sort of thing. And I got a bunch of other stuff that's on the coming up too, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. In the meantime, this is Freelix, aka Bill Fortney Jr. on Facebook, signing off. You guys have a good one. Play a lot.